Salutations all and welcome back. Hope you are all doing well. It is frigid here, to say the least, something that a lot of the Texans are not used to. I know some of you are smiling in your 70-degree weather somewhere, not here. But anywho, I'm going to create something today that should warm you from the inside out. Okay, we're going to do some very special dishes. Now, before you come in my head, understand the pronunciations on some of these. I'm sure I'm going to butcher them. Forgive me. Now, I did confer with the ancestors, and they said it was okay for me to make a few shortcuts because I'm not going back to the store. Okay, so it is what it is. Bear with me. Let's get into this adventure.
Yes, I suppose I have.
So 3 things that we're going to make today. Kachumbari, which is an Eastern African salad. It is gluten-free, it is vegetarian, it's paleo, it's all those good things that people really care about outside of this house. The next thing that we're going to make is called suya. Suya is a peanut rubbed steak on a kebab, if you will. It's a very popular street food. We're going to make a few little twists to that today, and then we're going to make akara. Akara is a black-eyed pea fritter. So hush puppy, right, for you Southerners, same thing. And depending on where you're from, it's going to be pronounced different. You know, if you're in Cameroon, they're going to call it one thing. If you're in Sudan, they're going to call it another. But today, we are doing, you got it. All right, I just wanted to see if you're following along. So first things first, let's get into the salad, and let's go over the ingredient list for that. Okay, so as I stated, for the salad, the kachumbari, please correct me. Somebody help me. Somebody. Lasana, where you at? Help me out with the pronunciations. We're going to do tomato, okay? You're going to need some onion, a little red onion over here, okay? We got that. You're going to want a little bit of avocado, okay? Some honey, some salt and pepper. All right, got my salt and pepper over here. We're going to do a little balsamic vinegar. I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to use a little bit of the glaze. Remember we talked about this before. The only reason I'm using the glaze is just for its viscosity, its thickness. We're really going to coat those tomatoes. Tomatoes are obviously going to release their own fluids. Blah, blah, we'll get into that later. Olive oil as well for this, and then cucumber. Now, I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to use a macadamia nut oil there. I don't know if you can see that very well. There we go. A little macadamia nut oil. Just add a little bit of flavor, right? Very, very simple. I'm going to save you guys the whole shenanigans of doing this. You're just going to dice this all up. You're going to mix it. Oh, did I mention the cilantro? I apologize. The cilantro as well. Mix that all together. Season it with some salt and pepper. Hit it with your balsamic. Throw in your cilantro and toss it. I'm going to go ahead and execute this now, and we can set it aside and allow all of those flavors to come together. And then at the very end, when we've got everything done, I'll obviously show you what that looks like and then explain to you why I chose this particular salad. So give me just a second. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'll just show you real quick. There's my little salad mixed in there, right? So I've got my onion in, avocado, my tomatoes are in there, cilantro, salt, pepper, honey, right? Don't forget the honey. And then that balsamic, and then a little bit of that macadamia oil. Now, there are 2 things that I left out of this if you want to keep it on the more traditional plane. One is some kind of spicy pepper, whether it's habaneros, scotch bonnets, whatever. Now, me, if you're a weirdo like me and you just happen to keep ghost peppers and Carolina Reapers dried around the house, by all means. But I didn't put it in there for this particular one because when we get to the suya, it's going to have a little bit of spice. I don't want to be overwhelmed with that. And I also left out the lime. And again, the reason that I left out the lime from my personal preference is because I'm going to be I put the balsamic vinaigrette in there, or the vinegar in there. So I've already got that acid, and I don't personally want to be overwhelmed by that either. So again, if you want to keep it traditional, you're going to add some type of spicy pepper to your choosing, and you'll hit that with a little bit of lime juice as well. It'll really bring out the acidity in that particular salad. All right, so that is our salad. We got that out of the way. Now let's go ahead and get the beef seasoned up, and then we're going to set that aside. Okay, so we're going to get everything together for the beef. Remember, like I said, we are making modifications to this due to circumstances out of our control. Typically, it would be done with a flank steak. I mean, I guess really you can do it with whatever steak you really want. I'm going to do it with skirt steak. It's what I've got in the house. So we're gonna do it with skirt steak. And what we're gonna basically do is create a peanut dry rub. Well, that's what we're supposed to do. And I'll explain, I will justify this, okay? So first things first, you wanna have your salt and pepper, right? We have salt and pepper. We want some garlic powder or granulated garlic, not the good old wet stuff out of the fridge that I love so much. Same thing for your onion. You're gonna want some granulated onion or some onion powder for this as well. We've got some ground clove. I've got some ground ginger. And we've got some smoked paprika. Now, again, we want to add that spice element. So you want to add a little bit of cayenne to that. That's fine. I'm going to grind up one of these delicious ghost peppers here to really put the heat in the pan. And then we also have peanut butter. Okay, so if you go to some of the local markets, the African markets, there are several in the DFW that I'm aware of. And I'm sure there are a ton in Dallas or anywhere that you live at. I'm sure that you'll be able to find peanut powder, okay? So peanut powder would make this a complete dry rub and would work out exactly like it's supposed to. I don't have peanut powder, but I do have peanut butter. So again, if you're wanting to keep it traditional, you can go and get peanuts. You can grind them down a little bit, not into a paste. To dry them out, you can put them into a saute pan and keep them moving over heat and try to dry them out that way. And then you can mash them through a sieve to try to get a powdery form, or you could just cheat and use a little bit of peanut butter like a normal person who doesn't have peanut powder. All right. So let me give you the breakdown on all this. And I'm going to go back too, because I know I've got some people out there like, Lucky, how much of what do I put into where and when do I do it? And keep in mind, I'm cooking for one right now. So these ingredient lists that I give you are going to be flexible to whatever your situation is. For our salad, for our kachumbari, that is 1 avocado. It would be about a half of a English cucumber. It's the long, thinner ones, not the short, fat boys. It'd be 1 lime to keep it traditional, 1 red onion, about 4 or 5 tomatoes. Now I'm telling you, this is for like 4 people, okay? Like the average household, possibly. A tablespoon of the balsamic vinegar, a teaspoon of the honey, teaspoon more or less of salt and pepper, and then about a tablespoon of the oil. And like I said, that's spitballing it off the top. That is just spitballing. For the suya, for the spice blend on the suya, sorry, I'm recalling here, trying to be helpful. We're talking about maybe like if you're doing straight up peanuts, maybe like a half a cup of peanuts. Obviously, a little bit less if we're using the peanut butter because that's going to spread a little easier. You can manipulate that a little bit more. I actually like to make a sauce out of the peanut butter, but anyway, I digress. Okay, sorry, let me catch myself. 1 tablespoon of ginger, 1 tablespoon of paprika, 1 tablespoon of the onion powder, about a tablespoon of salt in that, maybe about a half of a tablespoon of the black pepper for that as well, about a 1/4 teaspoon of clove, and the ginger, about a half a teaspoon of ginger, and that's going to be your spice blend. That's going to be your rub for the steak. Again, this is traditionally something that you find as a street food. Suya is normally served on a skewer and grilled. I'm not going outside to grill. Like I said, we are making modifications. It's been okayed. We're going to do this in a cast iron. I'm going to serve it more like a steak, or fajitas actually would be the better analogy there for fajitas. Okay, so I'm going to get all the dry stuff blended together, and I'm going to show you how we are going to cheat the system here on the peanut. Okay, all right, so this is going to seem strange, and I understand, but bear with me. The first thing I want to do with my steak is I want it to be as dry on the outside as possible for 2 reasons. One, because I'm using the peanut butter as opposed to the powdered dust, right? I have a wet element, and I want that peanut butter to stick as best as it possibly can to this. So I'm going to take a clean towel. I'm going to try to dry this off as much as possible. Like I said, just to give the peanut butter a chance to do what it's got to do. Okay. And once we are done with that, now I'm going to use a chunky peanut butter. I don't really think that it matters what brand you choose or whether or not you like the extra nuts, pause. But that's what I'm using today. So I've got my handy dandy spatula to clean out the last of this bit here. And let's start getting that on that beef best that I can. Yeah. We're going to try to do the other side as well. And then once you've got the peanut butter spread out nicely on all sides of the beef, we're going to go back with that dry spice blend that we created, right? With all of our delicious ginger and clove and salt and pepper, the whole shebang-a-bang. And we're going to hit it with that. And then we're going to let it sit for just a minute while we get the last component of our meal together. So I said that I would explain why I chose what I chose. Okay, so suya, like I said, is a street food, and it is traditionally served with some thinly sliced red onion, tomatoes, a little bit of lettuce. So think Vietnamese egg rolls, right? If you eat traditional Vietnamese egg rolls, go to a really nice place. Typically they bring out a little plate of, it'll have like basil and mint and lemongrass if you're lucky, and some sprouts and leaf lettuce, right? And you're supposed to take those egg rolls and wrap them up in that leaf lettuce and eat them with the accompanying herbs and dip them in that delicious fish sauce. All right. Okay. So yeah, this is the same, done the same way, right? So we're gonna eat this with some deliciously fresh veggies, which is why we did the salad, right? Same components. We've got our red onion, we've got our tomatoes, right? We got a few extra things in there, okay? And then the last piece, like I said, we're gonna do is just a nice, crunchy, bready thing to deliciously eat this with. All right, so now we're gonna hit it with our spices. Nice and liberal on both sides. And the drier this can be when it hits the pan, the better actually. It'll set up a real nice crust on the outside. The peanut butter is going to obviously melt away a touch once it hits the pan, but it is okay. The flavor will still be there. Okay, and this side. And then we're going to get to our fritters. So I've got my fryer going right now. It's set at 350. I don't want to scorch these things when they hit, but let me get these gloves off and let's talk about this last element. Okay, so now we're going to get into the last element of our dish for today, the akara. Again, forgive the pronunciation. I'm sure if you're Nigerian, you're like, that is not correct. Chris, where you at? Help me out. Now, in other places, like I said before, a lot of these dishes are called other things. In Sierra Leone and Ghana, this is akla, if I'm saying that correctly. Kwame, help me. But anyway, super duper simple to make, okay? For my recipe neaters out there, 2 cups of black-eyed peas, a half of a medium yellow onion, some salt and pepper, and something a little bit spicy or not, depending on your palate. And I'm throwing in 2 eggs into this because the yolks add a really nice richness. If you omit the eggs, then this is absolutely vegan and everyone can be happy at the dinner table, right? So I'm gonna cheat. Once again, we're cheating today. If you want to be super duper traditional, then you're going to go out and you're going to get some fresh black-eyed peas. You're going to soak those bad boys. You're going to rub them around in your hands to get the skin off. All that, okay? The difference that it makes, when you use the fresh or even like the store-bought peeled ones, it leaves like a crunchy element to it. Even though you blend it down, it still leaves a nice crunchy thing, so you might be into that. I like to just use the onion that way for my crunch. I'm going to cheat, like I said before, and use some canned black-eyed peas. All right, and what you're going to do, and this, I'm going to tell you what I like to do with this. What I do is I'll take 1.5 of the cans. I'm going to blend them down smooth, okay? I'm going to take my onion, small dice it, or brunoise, all right, for my culinarians out there. Small dice it. After I've got the first half blended down smooth, then I'm going to add the other half of the last can and the onions. I'm going to season that. I'm going to throw my egg in there and I'm going to beat the tar out of it. All right, I want to try to get as much air incorporated into that mix as possible. All right, air makes them nice and fluffy and just. So then we're gonna, once we get a nice and whipped up batter, we're gonna just drop it in the fryer, all right, till it's GBD. Where you guys at on that? You know what I'm talking about. Golden brown, delicious. It's really that simple. Blend it down smooth, right? Black eyed peas, blend them down. You can blend your onions too, for those that don't like weird textures, right, Nate? And then once it's blended down, season it up, drop it in the fryer, boom, fritters, okay? Let me whip this up. Okay, so I wanted to keep you all abreast of the situation. No, not really. All jokes aside, I just wanted to say abreast. So I've got the first can and a half blended up, right, in the food processor, blended smooth. So I'm going to get this out, get it into a normal bowl because I'm all about dirtying dishes. Add the other half a can of the black-eyed peas, my diced up onion, and then I'm going to start whipping in my 2 eggs. Just whip the mess out of it. Really get a lot of air in there. You know, pretend like you're making a hollandaise for another Mother's Day brunch-in that you got stuck working because somebody, anyway. Super duper simple. We're gonna fry these bad boys up. I've got the cast iron over here getting nice and toasty to finish off our steak. And then we're gonna put the whole bad boy together and sit down and enjoy. Bear with me. Going out to the grill. So we're gonna hit that with a little bit of oil, just a touch. Once it goes into the pan, let it sit, right? Let it do its thing. Don't move it around a whole lot. Give it some time and be patient. Now, I particularly think that this should be cooked about a medium rare to a medium. Okay, for my particular groups of people out there, you know who you are. Not everything has to be Charlie Murphy. Okay, some things can be Michael Ealy. It's not going to hurt you. I promise. I promise. All right, we want to give this a little bit of time to do its thing. Like I said, we are trying to get a good char on there. We want those spices to really get caramelized on the outside. And we want to let that peanut butter kind of do its thing. So, give it just a little bit before we flip it over. Sorry, I forgot you were here. Now, I'm using this fork to flip it because I don't want to go and get tongs to do it. People that cook their steaks and stuff with forks, stop stabbing your fork to flip it. Like, if you have to, like, go on the edges. You know, you're just making little release holes for all your juice. All right? All your wapidiness is coming right out of there every time you poke that thing. And you wonder why your steak is dry. I'm just saying, I personally think that you're doing it wrong. Love that smell though, man. Looks like I'm poking it, I'm not. I'm just molesting it a little bit. I can't help myself. Let's give this a flip. The char is what we're looking for. I'm going to give it a minute or two on this side, then I've got that third piece to cook off. And then we're going to cut this bad boy up and serve it. A little salad, some fritters, and a little special sauce. Give me a second.